God. Why doesn't the work is supposed to work? It's so confusing. What does it even mean? Plot novelist ego. Volatile ego. Distortions. What does it all mean? It's all theories and concepts. There's hardly any definitive proof. It's all hidden in most stories of a game. Libraruna, Distortion Detective, Limbus Company, Lobotomy Corporation, even Leviathan, even Wonderlab. I'm not reading all this shit! Hey, yeah, can you, like, get out of my store? It's closed, I don't even know how you got in here. Now, we all know... Oh, I guess we're doing this now.
Power systems. All good fantasy stories have them. From Hunter x Hunter to Persona. It doesn't need to be an anime, doesn't even have to be a novel. All it needs is a narrative. Power systems, put simply, are rules that have been established by the world in order to govern, limit, and enhance the mechanics of the supernatural abilities. Put vaguely, it's how superpowers work. This video, I want to explore these power systems and how they relate back to the two main aspects of it within the Project Moon franchise, Distortions and Ego. These systems provide a framework for the stakes, costs, and possibilities for the powers within the world. These can be shown through awesome transformations or simple balls of energy. Maybe like even little sigils, for example, this One Mage manga or The Owl House. The narrative devices behind power systems allow slow developments in the background of the story. Get it? Background? And then
hang up that computer call. Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical.
enabling digestible power balance changes within a scene if it's done right. A good way of doing this would be placing the power system at the forefront of the story through the eyes of a character who's new or is learning the power system in short intervals. Like Dante, for example, or Roland from Libraruna.
힘들었어요?
This allows the audience to slowly understand the power system in an immersive manner and allows for unknown fallacies to become a lot more feasible and open to exploration. Let's take Hunter x Hunter for example. Spoilers ahead for Hunter x Hunter. We understand that they are able to change the properties of their powers, that being Nen, through different vows and restrictions. We first learn that through Kurapika and his judgment chain, where he can't use certain powers on anyone other than the people within the Phantom Troop. And if he breaks this vow, he simply dies. This proves equivalent exchange and is an extreme risk for huge buffs to Kurapika's power. And knowing this, when we see Gon transform into an adult and reaching the peak of his potential in a moment built up of despair and rage, it still carries that shock and hype, but the power system allows us to not feel like, oh, this is lame as hell, that's just an ass pull, like, where did he get that from? But instead, knowing that this is an extreme risk, causing Gon to go into a coma and losing all Nen potential. And you might think, that's a good example, you know, what other good series do this, like, maybe, maybe Jujutsu Kaisen does this. How about you read the final fights of Jujutsu Kaisen? You know, they're quite similar, but, you know, watching Sukuna make another binding vow that makes no sense for the 5th time, you just kind of sit there disappointed, because they're actually just spamming binding vows. It removes all sense of consequence from the actual story itself. Like, for example, Todo, like, he lost his arm. I think the fact that he binds it to... It's just the equivalent exchange between using this Vibra Slap and him having this arm. I mean, it's cool to see him again. Todo's a badass, but oh my god. It makes no sense, man. But I digress. We classify these types of power systems as hard power systems, having clear and set limitations, rules, and costs. I personally prefer this type of power system as it's like more effective at creating conflicts and providing creative alternatives around the limitations. The other type of power system we know is soft magic systems. It's a lot more vague and a lot more wonderbound, and by wonderbound I mean like open to theory crafting. These systems are a lot more prone to aspulls. For an example, would be like Dragon Ball with Ki and Ultra Instinct, and Naruto with Chakra. To expand further, Chakra is seen to be a hard power system with all these sigils, hand signs, and forbidden jutsus with closed elements such as Sharingan nearing the start of it, but it transforms halfway through, like through Shippuden, into being more flexible towards emotional state. It's more thematic than logical with very loose and undefinable limits. Now, Before we fully dive into the Project Moon power system, there is one last piece of context of power systems that I want to dive into. How these powers are accessed. Earlier, I mentioned closed elements in relation to Naruto's Sharingan, meaning either these powers are locked behind a certain gene or bloodline, or if they could be achieved or learned by anyone. You might think like, okay, what does this have to do with Project Moon? How about you have some fucking patience, okay? Do you want a medal? Do you want some reels? Some gameplay? Basically, this all adds up to Project Moon being seen as a majoritively soft power system, but with hard power system elements. But I don't really feel like saying it's a majority soft power system is feasible towards ego and distortions, because I feel like the main reason the power system isn't majoritively hard is because of the amount we know at the moment. I feel like it can be argued well for both sides. For example, the soft elements of this power system would be something like the manifestation of harsh emotion into equipment, or they call it psychoments or ego. But I feel this is more due to not knowing. So is it really a soft power system in that case? For example, let's use a case of Philip in Library Arena. We see him multiple times in the game, starting off around the early middle of the game in Urban Plague. We learn that he's perceived as the weakest within the Dawn Office trio, consisting of Salvador, Philip, and his love interest, Yuna. Now, before entering the library, Salvador says something that makes Philip believe that Yuna and Salvador have some type of romantic relationship, causing his anxiety-ridden mind to already enter a distressed state before entering the library. After the reception, Philip runs away and emerges as the only survivor and goes to the Dawn Office's sister office, the Wedge Office, to try and save Salvador and Yuna. However, he fails again, causing him to face problems of cowardice, anxiety, and sorrow, and ultimately overcome them by achieving ego. He becomes adorned with a wax wing and an arm guard, his heart seemingly melting out of his chest, being an incomplete form of a full ego, as the full armor has not yet set in. You may still think that this is still an ass pull, right? It has a lot of features from the soft power system, and you'd be correct until we factor in the information that we know about the character Carmen. We know that in times of great stress, Carmen will show herself and will offer a person a power in order to win, yet the deal comes with a future that lacks foresight. In this rejection of a deal, the user will unlock ego. Now, this gives a simple rule and limitation to the power Philip gains, enforcing that a person must be 1. Mentally unstable, 2. Highly distressed, and 3. Decline the offer from Carmen, but not quite decline it, as we have seen that you might not have to have a full rejection of Carmen to unlock ego. Once they decline the offer from Carmen, they will take the form of ego, where they adorn equipment that is telling to their own personal story. Such as, bring up Philip again, I see Philip's ego as a sort of homage to the story of Icarus and Daedalus. It's a cautionary tale that represents hubris as pride and overconfidence. This is foreshadowing to what's to come of Philip, as if he continued down this path, then we know what would happen to him. A false warrior being somewhere and someone he's not supposed to be. This establishes the main power system of Project Moon, ego, to be a hard power system with elements of fixed, predetermined power, alongside being quite open, as realistically anyone can achieve ego. I mean, you know, like, take Tweaker over there. I mean, all you gotta do is hit him with a couple honey buns and GG, you are now food for the sweepers. Now, we've talked about normal ego transformation, but what if someone did take that offer from Carmen? What if they did take the easy way out? What if they accepted that power? Well, then that comes in the form of a distortion. For example, Dong Rang from Canto 4. He came to a realization that there was no way for him to continue what he was doing, and that he didn't deserve all the nice things that he had in life because he couldn't recognize the person he was before. Also, a cow walked past him and it made him really sad. This caused him to listen to Carmen and take the easy way out, turning him into this hopeless, rewardless husk, being someone who has nothing more than these trophies of false admiration. This is how distortions differ from ego, whereas on a baseline they stay the same mechanically, both being open and hard power systems. Ego is a realization of a human psyche. You know your biggest problems, and yet you fight against them to rise. You don't give in to the fallacies of a problem at hand. You live for your sake and your inspirations through love, being a fixed resolve. Yet this isn't purely true. This isn't purely a good guy thing, as we can see with Ahab from Canto 5. Is it? Canto 5, Ishmael's shit anyway. We see this with Ahab, where her resolve for vengeance, and her resolve to kill that whale encapsulates her, causing her to realize that she doesn't want anyone else taking this life of a whale except her. This was her life goal, and she'll do anything to achieve it, even if that means traumatizing the worst character in the game. But Distortions, they lead you down a path of change. Your reasons are flawed and you know it. Soon enough, not just through sorrow, but possibly through anger. This change being custom to how the user thinks, and how that changes through the different stages of a distortion. In Felix's case, the wrong path of anxiety and being overly self-aware devolved into hatred and pessimism. Now, this all adds up to me feeling as if Project Moon's power system is an ever-evolving medium through the current storyline of Limbus Company, where new technology or information is being revealed through the different updates of the live service game.
Anyway, this is a very baseline analysis of Distortions and Ego. If you want to know more, go watch Frey Chekwama's one hour video on it, because I'm not doing all that.